I used to tell myself it was normal. The way my stomach twisted when Chloe laughed a little too loud at some other guy's joke. The way I caught her holding someone's gaze just a second too long. The way she touched people's arms when she talked, casually, like it meant nothing. I told myself I was overthinking it. That jealousy was my problem, not hers. That loving someone meant trusting them even when your instincts screamed not to. And so I buried it. The unease. The little cracks in the foundation of what we were building. I chose to believe in her. In us. We built a life on top of that shaky ground, birthdays, holidays, promises whispered in the dark. All the things that are supposed to mean something. All the things that make you feel safe. But cracks don't heal themselves. They grow. They spread. They wait. And all it takes is the right pressure. The right person. The right moment. To break everything wide open. I thought jealousy would be the thing that ruined us. Turns out, it was truth. And truth doesn't care how much you love someone. It just shows up one day and tears your life apart. Before everything fell apart. There were good days. I need to say that first. Before everything twisted and rotted underneath us, there were days when Chloe and I felt untouchable. I remember one afternoon, a few months after we got married. It was raining, not a heavy storm, just that slow, steady kind of rain that makes everything outside feel quieter. Chloe had dragged the mattress off our bed and laid it right in the middle of the living room floor. She said she wanted to have a lazy day, her words, like it was the most important thing in the world. We spent hours there, watching stupid movies, eating popcorn straight from the bowl. She kept laughing at everything, even the bad jokes. At some point she curled up against me, her head on my chest, tracing lazy patterns on my arm with her fingertips. Not saying anything, just being there. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what people spend their whole lives looking for. We had our own inside jokes, our routines. The way she'd steal my hoodies and never give them back. The way she'd grab my hand under the table when we were out with friends, like some private little reminder that we were in it together. Even the way we fought felt safe back then. Loud, stupid arguments over nothing, where we always found our way back to each other by the end of the night. Always. For a long time, I truly believed Chloe was my home. Not just a person, not just a partner. Home. The place you run to, not from. I held on to that belief tighter than I should have. Even when the cracks started to show. Even when my gut told me something wasn't right. I clung to that version of us, the one where we were still two people who would rather die than hurt each other. But love doesn't erase reality. And no matter how tightly you shut your eyes, the truth is still standing there, waiting to be seen. The beginning of the rot. It didn't happen all at once. It crept in the way rot always does. At first, it was little things. Things I almost missed. Chloe mentioning how some guy at work had complimented her outfit. How the cashier at the grocery store had flirted a little when she bought wine for dinner. She would laugh it off, tell me it was nothing, but she always told me. Always made sure I heard it. I didn't think much of it at first. Everyone likes to feel wanted. Maybe she just needed to be seen. Maybe I hadn't been doing a good enough job. But then it started happening more often. The stories. The comments. The glances she said she caught. The attention she said she hated but told me about anyway. Like she wanted me to react. Like she was testing something. Sometimes she'd even say it directly. "You're not jealous, are you?" With that half smile, half dare in her eyes. At first, I said no. Laughed it off. Tried to show her that I trusted her. That I wasn't that guy, the controlling, paranoid husband clenching his fists every time another man looked at her. But it wore me down, day by day, inch by inch. It made me question things I didn't want to question. Made me start watching the way she moved around other men. Listening to her voice for notes of softness that weren't meant for me. Seeing dangers where maybe there were none. And maybe where there were. I hated it. Hated what it was turning me into. Someone suspicious. Someone petty. Someone who didn't recognize himself anymore. And the worst part? Some part of Chloe seemed to like it. The way her eyes would sharpen when she caught me watching her. The way she'd act sweeter right after, as if rewarding a dog for growling at a stranger. I didn't know it then. but she was preparing the ground, setting the conditions for something worse, something she maybe hadn't even decided to do yet, but would. It's easy to break something when you've already convinced yourself it's cracked beyond repair. It didn't stop with her. Out of nowhere, she started accusing me. Little jabs at first. Sarcastic comments when I came home late from work. Questions about who I was texting if I picked up my phone too quickly. You seem awfully busy lately. Was that your new girlfriend calling? Always with a smile, always half joking. But there was an edge under it that wasn't funny at all. The first time she really lost it was over a waitress. We had gone out to dinner, just the two of us. The waitress was young, polite, barely looked at me. But Chloe spent the whole night clenching her jaw, giving tight, cold answers. When we got back to the car, she snapped. You think I didn't see the way you were looking at her? Maybe you should have gotten her number while you had the chance. I sat there stunned. I hadn't done anything. I hadn't even noticed the girl. At first, I tried to be patient, tried to remind myself that maybe she was just insecure, that maybe I hadn't made her feel safe enough. I told myself that if I just loved her harder, better, she'd calm down. She'd trust me again. But it didn't stop. It got worse. She hated when I left the house without her. Hated when I talked to any woman coworkers, friends, even her own friends. She started checking my phone when she thought I was sleeping. Started sniffing my clothes when I came home, like she was searching for proof. Proof of what? I didn't know. Maybe she didn't either. Looking back now, it's so clear. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was projecting. All the things she accused me of. The lying, the sneaking, the betraying. They were things already taking root inside her. She wanted to catch me because she knew what she was capable of. And some part of her needed to believe that if she could break her promises, then maybe I could too. Maybe I already had. That way, she wouldn't have to be the villain. We would both be guilty. We would both be to blame. But I wasn't guilty. Not yet. I was still fighting for us. Still holding on to the pieces like an idiot trying to glue a shattered mirror back together. And here it is, the beginning of the end. Ethan wasn't some stranger. He was our neighbor. Lived 2 houses down, just close enough to wave at, just far enough to ignore if you wanted to. The first time I really noticed him was when Chloe insisted we invite him over for a barbecue. Said it would be neighborly, that it would be fun. I didn't think much of it. I wasn't looking for new friends, but Chloe was good at convincing me to go along with things. I thought it would be one afternoon, and that would be the end of it. But Ethan stuck around. He was charming, in that way some people are without even trying. The easy laugh, the compliments that didn't sound like compliments. He knew how to make people like him, knew how to make women feel seen. At first, it was innocent. Chloe would wave at him when we were coming back from the store. They'd chat at the mailbox. Harmless stuff, the kind of things normal neighbors do. But it didn't stay harmless. Not really. I started noticing how Chloe lit up when she talked to him. How she laughed a little too hard at his dumb jokes. How she suddenly had reasons to linger outside when she knew he'd be out there too, watering his plants. Fixing his fence, whatever excuse he could find. And maybe that would have been forgivable if it had stopped there. If it had stayed there. But Ethan started finding reasons to be around more and more. Borrowing tools he didn't need. Dropping off extra beer from some cookout he was hosting. Asking for help moving a piece of furniture he could have easily handled himself. Always casual. Always just enough to pass as friendly. And Chloe? She always said yes. Always made herself available. I told myself I was imagining things. That it was my old jealousy rearing its ugly head again. I tried to trust her. Tried to be better than my insecurities. Tried to believe that not every glance, every laugh, every too long conversation was a threat. But deep down, something was shifting. Something quiet but massive. Like the way a building starts to lean before anyone can see the cracks. I started feeling like a guest in my own life. Like an outsider watching something unfold that I was powerless to stop. And Chloe was slipping away from me. One small, invisible betrayal at a time. The line they crossed. It was a Saturday afternoon. One of those suffocatingly hot days where even the air feels heavy. I had gone out. Needed to pick up a few things for the house. Chloe said she was going to stay home and clean up the backyard. She said it casually, like it was nothing. When I got back, the house was empty. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I figured she was outside, maybe pruning the plants, maybe just taking a break from the heat. But when I stepped onto the back deck, I stopped cold. There they were, Chloe and Ethan, not quite touching, but too close, way too close. They didn't see me at first. Chloe had her head tilted back, laughing at something he said. Her body language, the way she leaned toward him, was all wrong. Too easy, too open. Not the way a married woman leans toward another man. And Ethan, he was looking at her like he already owned her, like she was already his. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like hours, watching, trying to make sense of what I was seeing, trying to convince myself it wasn't what it looked like. Then he reached out, brushed a stray hair from her face. A small gesture, so small it could have been nothing. Except it wasn't. It wasn't nothing at all. Chloe didn't flinch. She didn't pull away. She smiled at him. A slow, secret smile I hadn't seen in a long time. A smile that wasn't meant for me anymore. I made some noise without meaning to. The deck creaked under my foot. And just like that, the moment broke. They jumped apart, too fast, too guilty. Chloe's face snapped toward me, wide-eyed, a flush rising up her neck. Ethan just looked away, pretending to be interested in the sky. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I turned around and walked back into the house, feeling like my entire life had shifted without me, like I had stepped off solid ground and into something endless and dark. I didn't know everything yet, not the full truth, but I knew enough. I knew the line had been crossed. I knew they had let something into our marriage that could never be undone. And the worst part? Some part of me, the part that still loved her, wanted to believe it could still be fixed, wanted to believe that what I saw wasn't the beginning of the end. But it was. It had been ending for a long time already. I had just refused to see it. After that day in the backyard, something changed. But not the way you might expect. Chloe didn't pull away. She didn't become cold or distant like I feared she would. No, she did the opposite. She leaned in. She became the woman I had been aching for. The woman I thought I was losing. She started texting me again in the middle of the day, little things. I miss you. Can't wait for you to come home. She cooked my favorite meals. She curled up next to me on the couch like she used to, before everything got complicated. She laughed at my jokes again. She touched me more, little casual touches that used to feel so normal but had been missing for months. It was almost perfect. So perfect that after a few days, I started questioning myself. Maybe I had been overreacting. Maybe all the tension, all the doubts, were just my own fears gnawing at me. Maybe I was the broken one. Maybe I was so terrified of losing her that I had imagined problems where there were none. I told myself it made sense. That sometimes people just drift a little and then find their way back. That love, real love, was messy and imperfect but still worth fighting for. I wanted to believe it so badly that I swallowed everything else. All the glances I had caught between her and Ethan. All the too long silences. All the little moments that hadn't added up. I convinced myself that my jealousy was the real problem. That if I just trusted her, loved her harder, better, everything would go back to how it was supposed to be. And for a while, it almost did. The nights were softer again. The house felt warmer. The laughter returned. The life we had built seemed to patch itself back together, like a cracked wall given a fresh coat of paint. But underneath it, underneath all the sweet words and soft kisses, something ugly was still rotting. Something that no amount of pretending could fix. I didn't know it yet, but Chloe's sudden warmth wasn't love. It was guilt. It was fear. It was her desperate attempt to cover the tracks of a betrayal that hadn't ended that day in the backyard. And the more I clung to the lie, the harder the truth would eventually break me. It was a Sunday evening, one of those slow, heavy evenings where the world feels half asleep. Chloe was stretched out on the couch, her feet tucked under her, scrolling mindlessly through her phone. I was fixing the leaky kitchen faucet, cursing quietly under my breath as the wrench slipped from my hand again. She was laughing at something on her screen, a soft, breathy laughy, the kind she used to give me when we were first dating. And for a moment, it made me smile. It made me believe, again, that maybe everything really was okay. Then she said something, almost under her breath, not meant for me, barely even meant for herself, probably. She murmured, "You're so bad," and laughed again, softer this time, almost a purr. I didn't think much of it at first. Thought she was watching a video, maybe texting one of her friends. Normal, safe. But then she said it again. "You're so bad, Ethan." The name fell into the room like a stone dropped into a still pond. Small, barely a ripple, but I felt it. Felt it in my blood, my bones. The way a man feels the crack in a foundation before the house falls down. I stood up without thinking. Walked over. She didn't even notice at first, too caught up in whatever she was looking at. When she finally realized I was standing there, she jerked her phone away so fast she almost dropped it. Flushed. Wide-eyed. Too wide. Just, just a meme Ethan sent, she said quickly. Too quickly. Something stupid. Not important. And maybe that should have been the end of it. Maybe I should have let it go. I almost did. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But something in her eyes, that split-second flicker of fear, told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't the meme. It wasn't innocent. It wasn't stupid. It was something else. Something much worse. And suddenly, the tight little world I had rebuilt around us started to crack again. After that night, I couldn't let it go, even if I wanted to. Even if some part of me screamed to just forget it. Pretend I never heard my wife purr another man's name like that. I started noticing things. Things that had been there all along, but I had trained myself not to see. The way Chloe would jump whenever her phone buzzed. The way she always kept it face down now. The way she started locking it, even in the house. Small things. Tiny fractures. But once you start seeing the cracks, you can't unsee them. And then came the moment that broke it all open. It was almost stupid how it happened. So simple it didn't even feel real at first. I was in the garage, looking for some old paperwork. An old junk box had split open, spilling its contents onto the floor. Papers, receipts, photos, years of our life, scattered across the concrete. I was gathering it all up when I found it. A folded piece of paper tucked between some old tax returns. Not a letter, not a love note. Worse, a printed screenshot from a video. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was blurry, grainy. I knew that backyard. It was my backyard. And there they were. Chloe, Ethan. The angle was weird, like it had been taken through the slats of the fence or from behind a bush. But it was clear enough. Her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist, their mouths crashing together in a way that made my skin crawl. And on the back, there's an inscription. Lucas knows that your neighbor is fucking you. I stared at it for what felt like forever, my mind rejecting it, twisting itself into knots trying to make it mean something else. But there was no other meaning, no other explanation. It was them. It was real. And somehow, the fact that it had happened there, in the place where we had built our life, where we had grilled burgers and planted flowers and talked about starting a family, made it so much worse. It wasn't just betrayal. It was desecration. A life that wasn't mine anymore. A marriage that had already been buried. And I was the last fool still standing at the graveside. Not because I needed proof. God knows, by then I didn't. But because I needed to see her face when she had to look at it. I needed to give her a chance to tell the truth. Even if some pathetic part of me already knew she wouldn't. That night, after dinner, I sat her down at the kitchen table. The same table where we used to plan our future. The same table where she used to reach across and squeeze my hand when no one was looking. I didn't say much. Just slid the paper across to her. Watched her eyes drop to the printout. Watched her pupils widen. Her skin pale, just slightly. But she didn't cry. She didn't even really flinch. She went straight into survival mode. It's fake, she said immediately. Her voice steady, almost rehearsed. Someone's trying to blackmail me. It's Photoshop, Lucas. It's not real. I stared at her. At the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. And for a flicker of a second, just a flicker, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that some sick bastard out there had fabricated the whole thing. That Chloe was just a victim, trapped in someone else's sick game. That our life wasn't a lie. But the problem was, I had seen the way she looked when she read that message. I had seen the fear, the shame, not the outrage of an innocent woman, the guilt of a caught one. Still, I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just sat there, watching her scramble to spin the story into something that could still save her. And then, like it was all some cruel joke, my phone buzzed on the table between us. A new email. No sender name. No subject. Just a link. I didn't hesitate. I opened it. And there they were. In our backyard. In the middle of the day. Not hiding. Not sneaking. Like they owned the world, and I was some ghost already fading from it. Chloe bent over the picnic table where we used to sit and drink coffee on Sunday mornings. Her hands gripping the wood. Ethan behind her. His face twisted in something like a sneer. Her mouth open in a silent cry that I had once thought belonged to me alone. It was real. God, it was so real. There was no photoshopping it away. No blackmail story to cling to. No fantasy to hide behind anymore. I felt her watching me as I watched it. I didn't look at her. I couldn't. The sound was off, but I didn't need it. The betrayal was loud enough without it. When I finally closed the video, the room was so silent it hurt my ears. Chloe opened her mouth. Maybe to deny it again. Maybe to beg. I don't know. I didn't let her. I stood up, pushed the chair back slow and careful, picked up my keys, walked out the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't scream. I didn't look back. There was nothing left to say. It's strange how a life can fall apart so quietly. No explosions. No screaming matches. Just a slow, grinding collapse, like the foundations were rotting away all along and I was the last one to notice. After I left that night, I didn't go back. I never set foot in that house again. Everything we owned together, the furniture, the photos, the memories, I left it all behind, like stepping out of a burning building without even bothering to grab a coat. Chloe tried to reach out at first. Texts, voicemails, emails that got increasingly frantic, then angry, then finally, silent. I never answered. There was nothing she could say that would change what she had done. Some things aren't mistakes. They're choices. Ethan moved out of the neighborhood about a month later. Apparently, after everything came out, his girlfriend, the woman he'd been living with for 3 years, kicked him out without a second thought. Good for her. At least someone had the sense to burn the bridge instead of trying to rebuild it. As for Chloe, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she tried to patch things up with Ethan afterward. Tried to turn whatever sick, broken thing they had into something real. It didn't last, of course. It never does. Two people built on lies and betrayal don't make a foundation. They make a demolition site. The truth is, I didn't feel much satisfaction hearing about it. No sense of justice, no smug serves you right. Just emptiness. Just the cold, dull fact that none of it could fix what had already been destroyed. As for me, I survived. I moved into a small apartment across town. Started over in the slow, stupid ways you do after your life falls apart. One cheap coffee mug, one mattress on the floor, one sleepless night at a time. Some wounds don't bleed. They just stay open, quiet and invisible, hurting a little more every time you breathe. I don't hate Chloe. Not anymore. Hating her would mean she still mattered. She doesn't. Not in the way she used to. Not in the way I gave her the power to matter. I think what I feel now is something closer to pity. For her. For Ethan. For myself. Back then. The man who thought love was enough to keep the wolves outside the door. But sometimes the wolves are already inside. Sometimes they're the ones you kissed goodnight and said I love you to without ever knowing you were sealing your own fate.